I wanted to talk about a few things that came to my mind the other day. Um, One thing is, I'm a seeker because I have an insatiable curiosity. And I found out that that is a consequence of being ADHD because of the dopamine deficiency. I'm constantly seeking stimulation, constantly, I constantly need new things to like stimulate my interests, and then that gives me that dopamine rush. Um, and it helps me. It's like it's insatiable. I mean, I'm just curious about everything. I just want to know about everything, just because it's there. Not to be a know-it-all, but just like, why wouldn't you want to know everything there is? I mean, it's there. It's there to know. I mean, there's so much that I don't know that's out there to know. That's the most interesting thing about uh, after my awakening was how little I knew, especially with the internet, how little I knew about anything. It's like, oh my God, there's so much to know. So throughout my spiritual journey, uh, I've I've I read the Bible twice. See, I read the New Testament twice. The Old Testament I've kind of skimmed through. I'm fairly familiar with it, but it, I'm really focused on the New Testament just because it's like I had an opportunity to read it, and I was like, okay, this is after I had my awakening, and I wasn't going out to disprove it. I wasn't going out to prove it. I just, what does it say? What does this book say that has just changed the world so drastically? I mean, and just made such an impact. What does it say? And that's how went into it, with very open minded, like not knowing anything. And I mean, I kept notes and stuff because I would read across something like, huh, that's what I came up with. I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't expect to, as I was reading through the Bible, especially the Gospels. I really focused on the Gospels because that's that's the teachings of God. Okay, I mean that Christians believe that's God. You know, as a Christian, that Jesus is God. Okay, so what did God say? I love Paul's writings too, because he writes from kind of like our perspective, which is kind of cool. And that when I read it, that's how I read it. I didn't read it as this holy person. I just read it as like this guy. So Jesus, he's the master. So what did he say? And you know, I've never read the Gospels. I never, it's so strange. You just don't, if and then when you read it with no preconceived, I mean, I was an atheist, but I'm very agnostic. I was like, okay, I'm open to something. Something is out there, especially after my awakening. It's like, no, there's something there. I know there's a consciousness, and I'm part of it. And it's once I asked the right questions, then it was like it opened up, like it opened up the channel where I could. It was like I never heard voices or anything, but just these thoughts would just pop into my head, and they still do. It's like it's so interesting. So I that's how I went into reading the Bible. And when I was reading it out, it was like it confirmed so much of what I had just kind of like had this epiphany it had shown me. Um, and then a lot of the stuff that I read was like, well, that's not what's taught. How have I missed that? How's that not being taught? And one of them that it's really interesting. See, I was thinking maybe this is a Mandela effect because I always remember the saying was seek the truth and the truth shall set you free. And does everybody else remember it, that's what you remember it being? Well, that it's not actually what it says. It says that, but it doesn't say that. There's like there's something before that you have to there's like a pre-qualifier. This is what it says. This is John 8:32. It says they said then said this is I'm sorry, this is John 8:31. Then said Jesus to those Jews who believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then ye are my disciples, and indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. I was like, okay, wait a minute. What did that say? It says, if ye continue in my word, in other words, follow my teachings, then you're my disciples. And then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So Jesus is focusing on continue my teachings. If you continue in my teachings, then you're my disciples. And what's interesting is what I've always seen, as a Catholic, growing up a Catholic, was that it was about belief in Jesus. That was the most important thing. And Jesus here is saying the most important thing is my word, my teaching. That is the most important thing. That's what you need to focus on. And so why isn't that focused on? Why isn't that where we're supposed to the teachings, the teachings, the teachings? The teacher's already there. Don't focus on the teacher, focus on his teachings. It's like it's kind of to me it seems kind of misguided. It's like what is he says this well this is right on it says and whoever this is Luke 14:27 and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So in other words, you got to go do your own stuff. You got to go figure this stuff out. I've given you the teaching, live that teaching. That's the discipline. So you're my disciple, and live your life. Bear this cross. I'm not taking anything from you. I'm showing you. You have to resolve this stuff, and then you'll see me. You'll know everything I said was the truth, and it'll set you free. That's how I read this. Now, am I completely off base, or does that make sense? I mean, I'm not. You see, I'm not endorsing or negating any religion, any religious belief. I'm just there's something in Scripture there. This is not the only one, but this one is really. It just popped in my head the other day, and I had thought about it before. I think I mean, it seemed to me that seems really really powerful. That your focus is not on the teacher, your focus is on his teaching. Okay, so it's in Luke 6:40. He says, "The disciple is not above his master, but everyone that is perfect shall be as his master." When I read that, what I'm hearing him say is keep keep learning and following the master's teachings, and you will perfect this teaching, and you will be like the master, just like the master, not above the master, not below the master, as his master, equal to your master. I can't. I mean, I'm trying to. I, I can't. I can't decipher that any other way. Like I said, this is how when I read it in the first place. That's I was like, oh, that's very interesting. That's what came to me. That you have to learn this, and that comes to the perfection. It says perfect. What is that perfection? I think see perfection is it's not a destination. It's kind of like a process. It's just it's like an evolving state of being perfection. And I think that's what it is when you become a creator of your life. When you're finally free from the pull of the world, then that's perfect. But then you're always it's like there's no cap. It's not like you reach that point and then you're done. Perfection, it's like God is perfect because God is constantly creating and growing and expanding. And that's what we're supposed to be, constantly growing and expanding. Perfection is not a destination. It is the journey. But that's just how when I read it, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. That's what the master would say. And I believe that. I agree. Something else came to me. I was thinking about this. Okay, so where is it? It says so it's in Matthew 19:24. Actually 19, I'm sorry. 1921, when this young man comes up to him and asks him what he needs to do to be his disciple. It says, Jesus said unto him, if thou wilt be perfect, go and sell what thou hast and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. But the young man heard what he was saying. He went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. And so when I saw that, I was like, so is he telling everybody that they have to give away everything they need and come follow him? And that's how to be perfect and to be his disciple? But what I got at is like each person has to abandon that thing that holds them from going forward. Some will have to give up their wealth. Some have to give up their career. Some have to give up their friends. Some have to give up family. It's like whatever binds you, you have to remove, and or you have to give up. You have to sacrifice. You have to, if it's holding you back, that's what's required. And I think that's what he's talking about. So for this particular young man, it's give everything you own away, give it to the poor, and come follow me. And what did he say? He left with great sorrow. He was really sorrowful because he had lots of possessions. He couldn't leave them. That's why it required his possessions. Maybe it's somebody else's, your friends. That you have to. It's required that you remove yourself from your friends temporarily, permanently. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what's required of each of us? That thing, whatever that thing is that holds us from going forward, that's what we're required to give up. And sometimes it's all of those things. That's what's holding you down. That's what you have to give up. That's the cross you bear. And that's why he said that. That whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. You have to bear your cross. And whatever that is, that's the thing you have to give up. That the thing holding you back, that's what you have to bear. Jesus doesn't carry these things for you. I don't know how reading this, I didn't get that Jesus was going to take anything from me. He was telling me how to do this. It's like it's instructions. It's funny. It's like the red letter stuff are the instructions. The Pauline epistles are somebody's interpretations of those instructions. Why are we not following the instructions given by the teacher? Why is that the main focus for every Christian? I don't. When just reading it, it didn't make sense to me. Does anybody? I mean, this is just how I read it. I'm not saying this is the what I'm, my interpretation of it is the right interpretation, but it's the one that I'm like, okay, I can live that. I I can follow that instruction. Is it easy? No. Did he say it was going to be easy? It's a cross you're bearing. Of course, it's not easy. But I get it. Okay. Anyways, I just wanted to share that and see what anybody thought about it. Whether you agree, disagree, is there a fault in my logic? When I read this, am I not reading it correctly? Is there something deeper that I'm supposed to see, or am I taking it out of context? Because I think it's pretty clear instruction. Anyways, talk to you later, seekers.